Well, welcome everyone to Productivity Enhancing Updates to Ideate Apps. My name is Richard Taylor with Ideate Software, and I'm going to be your primary host for today. But as I said, also joining me is Glynis Patterson and Naveen Nabil, who is our newest employee at Ideate Software. She is our newest customer success manager. And so both Glynis and Naveen are going to be answering questions. So if you find that question panel and you have a question during the presentation, please feel free to type a question and we will try to answer as best as possible. Real quickly, as I mentioned, my name is Richard Taylor. I'm located near Boston, Massachusetts. My background is architecture, and I've had a number of years of Revit experience, both at Revit Technology and at Autodesk, as well as working for large and small architecture firms. I'm always happy to connect with people on LinkedIn. My middle initial is W. If you want to follow me on Twitter, that's great too. And of course, if you have any technical questions, I'm always happy to answer that on email at just richard.taylor@ideatesoftware.com. So a little bit about Ideate Software. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Ideate Software, but I just wanted to highlight that we have an excellent website where we have all of our online help. We have getting started guides, and we have many videos that I'm going to reference today as well. If you are an existing Ideate Software customer or you have a question, you can always email support@ideatesoftware.com. This last June, so just a few months ago now, we updated our Ideate software to align with Revit 2023. But at the same time, we also updated our versions for Revit 2020, 21, and 22. So if you haven't downloaded and installed, we have the Ideate software installer, which is an excellent way to be able to update all your software very easily. So we have a very quick agenda today. I'm going to try to fit as much information as possible. I'm going to be talking about our latest tool within the Ideate Apps collection, and that's our Ideate Annotate tool. I'm also going to be showing a little bit about Ideate X-Ray, because X-Ray is also integrated with Ideate Annotate. And then I'm going to be showing some View Creator, some new functionality that was actually introduced last December, but you may not be familiar with it. So I have a couple items on both the View Creator room views as well as the Ideate clone, which were some updates that we made. But you may be asking yourself, well, what is Ideate Apps? If you're not familiar, hopefully many of you are. Ideate Apps is a single solution, but it's when you install Ideate Apps, it comes now with 10 very focus-driven tools for increasing productivity and efficiency for everyone that's using Revit. And we've tried to make it so that it doesn't matter whether you're an electrical engineer, MEP engineer, structural architect. These tools are going to be beneficial to you no matter what your discipline. So just quickly, the fact that you can renumber things very easily with our Ideate Renumber, you can select and review with Quick Select, you can delete things and understand the liability of that deletion with Smart Delete, you can find things with Ideate X-Ray, and I'm going to be highlighting quite a bit of that today. You can check project spelling with our Ideate Spell Check. You can place views and sheets very efficiently with our Sheet and View tools, specifically Sheet Manager. I'm going to be speaking about how we can copy sheets with our Ideate clone, and that we can create new views with our Ideate View Creator. And finally, but not least of it, is being able to review and check annotations with our new Ideate Annotate as part of the tool collection. So why should we use Annotate, and what is it? Well, as I said, it's our 10th solution that we've added to Ideate Apps collection. And there are a number of reasons why you should use Annotate, but I think one of the highlights really is that it allows you to ensure the legibility of tags, dimensions, and other 2D annotative elements by reviewing clashes, but it also allows you to understand just basically what annotative elements you have in a particular sheet or particular view. So you can see there that we can ensure the legibility of tags. There's a clash between the dimension and the tag in this case, or the actually text where it says verify in field. And then, of course, as I said, you can browse through to the annotation elements to understand their usage throughout projects. So let's just go ahead and switch to this. So I'm using today Revit 2023 because, of course, it's the latest and greatest from Autodesk. But I also just want to reiterate and stress that all the tools that you see today are also available through, we updated in Revit 2020, 21, 2022, and 2023. So if you're not familiar, and I can't believe there's anyone on the planet that's not familiar with Ideate Software yet, the Ideate Software tools are available on the Ideate Software ribbon panel. So you can select that and you'll see that I have all the tools loaded. So if you don't see this Ideate Annotate when you go to your Ideate app collection, then that means that obviously you have an out-of-date Ideate apps, and you want to make sure that you update it through our Ideate software installer. So when I select on Ideate Annotate, those of you that are familiar with Ideate Explorer may say, well, that looks kind of familiar. And actually, we did try to make this very familiar to many of our Ideate Explorer or our Ideate Quick Select users. So right now, in this conference center project that you see here in the background here, this is our Audubon Conference Center. You can see I'm looking at the entire project. Currently, I'm sorting by category. I don't have a filter selected, and I'm looking at all annotative elements. So I've got over 28,000 annotative elements. And you can see it's very similar to Explorer, except that it's showing me just the 2D items, door tags, elevation marks, keynote tags, and so forth. I can also filter specifically on tags. And so now I'm just looking at the tagged elements, ceiling tags, door tags, revision tags, specialty equipment, and so forth. Another item is that I can switch from category to the view, right? And so I can look at individual views. So I might say, well, you know what? I would like to go to this first floor equipment and furniture plan, right? And find out what tags are on that so I can quickly see. And in fact, if I wanted to look at all annotative elements, I can switch that. So it's going to look at all the annotative elements on that particular view. So let's go again down to the my first floor finish and equipment plan, right? And so if I expand on that, you can see that I've got other elements there, right? And if I wanted to go, for instance, to a room tag, and let's expand on that, just like Explorer, I can come over here and I can basically navigate to a particular item like this animal care room, right? And I can double click, I can select it. I'm actually selecting the tag in that particular case. All right, so I'm going to switch over here. And in that case, let's go over and switch from, since I opened up that first floor equipment and furniture plan by navigating it to it, right? I'm going to switch here from the display to the active view. And when we switch to the active view, it's actually giving us a little bit more information about some items that may potentially be hidden. You'll notice that there is an italics. And the italics is telling me that there are at least some elements under room tags, under text notes, under wall tags that are hidden. And so if I expand on the wall tags category, you'll see that if it's these items here, these 6 are actually hidden in the view. And that was a customer request, basically being able to show both items that are displayed as well as hidden in a particular view. So if I look here and I'm going to search for tags, and I'm going to actually search on, let's say 1, 2, 3. So I can come over here to the room tag, right? And I can see that this men's toilet, number 123, right? And if I double click on it, it says it's hidden. And some of you may be familiar with this particular, not warning, but message that comes up with Ideate Explorer. So what I can do is say, you know what? Yes, I would like to show the temporary hide isolate. And then I can actually see that, oh, well, there's the men's toilet, and that was hidden in this particular view with other items. And then I can always turn off the reveal hidden elements. Just like Ideate Explorer and many of our other tools, it's non-modal, meaning that I can work in the view as I'm reviewing this information. So again, if I switch back, or let's go over here to the category here, and I'm going to filter on none, and I'm going to clear my selection. So now I'm looking at all of the elements within this particular view, right? The annotative elements. Another really cool thing about Ideate Annotate is the ability to review clashes or problems. So not just showing you or browsing to the annotative elements, but actually show you if there's some issues on this particular view. So if I select under review, it's automatically going to do a full analysis if I set this to display to view. If I have it set to placed views and sheets, or maybe the entire project, then it's going to do a partial analysis, just because it could take quite a while, right, to look at all these particular issues. So the first thing I'm going to do that's probably maybe the most beneficial is looking at the annotation clashes. So I have a number of elevation marks here, and I'm going to actually show you here. I've got this text note and a room tag. So I can, just like with Ideate Explorer, I can double click and I can go to the information. And I can basically highlight each one, and you can see over here to the right, oh, okay, well, there's the notes, right? It's right on top of the room tag. So I have a couple items, or I can fix that, right? I can move this over so it's no longer on top of the room tag or maybe elevation tag. Once I do that, notice I have 113 issues. I can actually dismiss the issue, or which I'll talk about in a moment, or I can refresh. And now that number has gone down to the clashes because I don't have as many clashes in this particular view. So I also have, for instance, zero link dimensions. And so I can double click on that and again find out. Now you might say, well, why is there a zero link dimension? This happens because maybe in this case, I've aligned, or I had a dimension to begin with, and then I aligned the door. I kind of forgot about the dimension and I aligned it to the wall, and then it ends up being 0. So that's something we want to be able to point out. Also, blank tags. Let's go here and find out where that one is. And I see that I've got this room tag that's been pulled out. So, oh, okay, well then I want to pull that back into the themed classroom to fix that particular issue. And now again, I've done a couple, I didn't change the zero link dimension, but I can always refresh and get the information for the most up-to-date issues. Now, again, with the annotation clashes, I may come over here and I want to actually look at this elevation 13. Now, sometimes, and I know people do this as a, not as a rule of thumb, but sometimes there is the information where you are actually, let's say, there are times where you do have elevation markers on top of one another, and that is something that you did want as an example, or maybe you don't want that, right? But in this particular case, let's say I don't care, like that was actually purposely done, this particular elevation marker. Then I can say right click and dismiss the issue. So in this case, maybe I just want to, like I said, dismiss the issue. And then I could always come back here to my filter and I can look at my dismissed issues. And I see that I have the two annotation clashes. So if you're familiar, again, with Ideate Explorer, we can filter things. And so similar to warnings in a way, where you've dismissed warnings in Ideate Explorer, now we've dismissed certain issues that may not be really a problem that you want to look at. So now I can just say, okay, let's go back to none here. Let's go look at my full analysis. And I'm continuing to work through these, right? These items, again, may be hidden. They're hidden and they're not visible for maybe a variety of reasons. So if I come over here, I'm going to scroll down to the wall tags. And, in this, because it says it's other not visible, we've integrated Ideate X-ray. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to launch X-ray. So it's automatically selected, right, the wall tag. And I can say, well, find out why that wall tag is not displaying correctly. And I see a couple of reasons. Well, it's because the tagged element of the wall, so the wall itself, is not displaying, and it's also in the annotation crop. The annotation crop is preventing it from being displayed. So again, I can review that information and see if that is something that I do want or if that was a mistake. And by the way, like it says, as I go through these issues and again fixing them, you might say, well, gee, how did you figure out the annotation class? Like in this particular case over to the right, this elevation marker, is that going to actually be on top of this workroom? Meaning, is that going to conflict, or how close do I have it, right? Well, that is a setting that I can come over here and I can select the clash sensitivity. So, if I set it more sensitive, I'm going to get more results, more clash. If I set it less, I'm going to get less results. And then I can also clear my dismissed issues that I have here in my filter that I've already dismissed. So let's go back here to none. And again, just be able to review very easily all of this information. So the key here is using Ideate Annotate to make sure that your 2D annotative elements are clear, they're concise, you don't have errors, and you really understand all of that sort of 2D information within your project. So that's a quick overview of Ideate Annotate, and I also want to highlight that Ideate Annotate, as well as all of our other tools, have excellent short videos on our website. So if you go to our website under videos for IdeateApps, you will see that there is a number of, each one of these apps has a nice short video, and so we've done a nice one on Ideate Annotate that talks about all of the features and highlights that I just mentioned. All right, so since we talked about Ideate X-Ray, I wanted to come over here and just show you a little bit more about how this works. Well, you saw with Ideate Annotate, I was able to select the element that was hidden, right? And be able to then right-click and say, hey, why is that hidden? But what happens when I don't have the ability to select it? Like I'm looking for a plumbing fixture, but there's nothing to select. So here's where I can come over to Ideate X-Ray. And I have a little wizard here where I can search for a small area in the target view. So basically, I'm telling Ideate X-Ray to search for an area, and let's say in this area, and sure enough, I have some plumbing fixtures. So I have the actual toilet seat itself and the toilet. So I'm going to look for the toilet, select next, and then say find the element. So this is a great way for me if I can't select something, right? And so it tells me not only do I have one, two, but I actually have 3 reasons why this element is hidden. The first one is the work set for the toilet fixtures, for plumbing fixtures, is not open. So if I select show me, it's actually going to bring me the appropriate dialog where I can say, oh yeah, plumbing fixtures, gee, they're not opened. Well, let's open that up. Say yes. And gee, it still doesn't display because the category has been turned off. Now, if it's being driven by a view template, it will tell me that. But in this case, I don't have a view template applied, so I can just hit fix to turn the category on, which it does, right? And you see now the other toilets and the urinal are displaying. But it's still not displaying the one that I'm specifically looking for because I also overrode that by a right-click hide in view. So when I say fix, then it's actually going to turn that on. So I went through the 3 steps here to find out why that element wasn't displaying. So Ideate X-Ray is just so flexible and so powerful. And I just love the fact that it's integrated now into Ideate Annotate for all those annotative issues or situations you might have. Then another thing I wanted to highlight today with IdeateApps that you may not be familiar with is we get so much feedback on our sheet and view tools, the Ideate Sheet Manager, the Ideate Align, the Clone, and the View Creator. And we introduced this particular method of creating new views last fall, as I mentioned, so you may not be familiar with it. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to come to the architecture floor plan here, same building, same data set. And so I'm going to go to View Creator. And we can search or create new views based on rooms now. So we've had this plans to levels, duplicate views, apply dependents, but this is the new one that we introduced in the fall, or I should say in December, depending on where you are. So room views, select next. Now, I'm looking for the men's toilet again, since I searched for that earlier, but I actually know there's already a room or there's some elevations. So I'm going to untick this where it says hide rooms with elevations. And then I'm going to search for, again, 1, 2, 3. And right there, there's the men's toilet, 1, 2, 3. Select next. Now, what I've done is I've set up, it says choose layout. there are rules, and these rules are completely customizable. I've created one called Room Setup All. And what that does is actually picks a title block, and it also picks a particular view type based on the interior elevation, the plan, the room, and the room view. And those view types can have view templates assigned to them, which I have. So you'll see that that's how I get the scale and the hatching and the shading and everything the way that I want it. But right now it's as simple as once you get that set up, I'm just going to select Room Setup All, select Next. I want the first floor plan, the call out, to actually be on the architecture, and I'm going to leave the ceiling plan to be called out on the coordination plan. I'm going to select Next, and now it builds automatically the 4 cardinal elevations, right? And it also does an enlarged plan, a reflected ceiling plan, and a nice 3D view, because that's what I told it to do. With all of our tools, you may not be familiar, but I can say find, let's say the word toilet, and place with restroom, let's say as an example, RR. So what I'm now going to do is, see that it updated all that. So now I haven't created these views yet, or the sheet, but I'm going to go ahead and select to create those 7 new views, and I'm also going to create the sheet. So I'm going to say done. I could rename that sheet if I wanted to, but it's just going to pick the next sheet in the sequence here. So now you see the 4 nice elevations of the men's room, restroom, 123, north, east, south, and west. And then I've also done this enlarged floor plan, reflected ceiling plan, and a nice 3D view that's all shaded. And so I've now selected that, and it's built that automatically on the sheet. I can also create these new room views based on cloning a specific sheet. So once I have the setup and I have the locations of where I want everything, I could use that sheet as a setup sheet for cloning as well. And so just wanted to highlight that that's a fairly new workflow that you may not be familiar with. Now let's come over here to a different view here, and I'm actually going to close a couple of these different views here.
Hey, Richard?
Yes.
Hey, it's Glennis. I just want to let you know there is one good question that we want to make sure we answer before the end.
Absolutely. Is it something? Do you want me to answer that now?
I can answer it as soon as you're done with showing the last piece. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. So let's come over here to another sheet. And you may want to clone the sheet. Well, how do you do that? And how do you do it easily where you can clone it, but also swap viewports, right? So this sheet here, I've set it up, and I'm using the sheet manager tools. I'm now going to select that I want to clone. So we'll select clone. And instead of coordination, I want it to be structure. And here is where I can swap viewports. So instead of the first floor coordination west, I earlier used Ideate View Creator to create a whole series of new views that were super easy. So I actually created a new structure west. For the schedule, instead of the room type schedule, I want more of a structural schedule. So I'm going to have the minimum compressive strength. And then for the signage elevation, this is an interior elevation. So I want to untick this show similar views because I want to swap it with an exterior structural elevation. So I'm going to come down here to my elevations and say west elevation for structure. So before I select clone, basically it's giving me a new sheet number, a new name for the sheet, and it's swapping the views, but it's also aligning them based on their model coordinates. If I untick this, it's going to be the centroid of the views. So if you have, let's say, unit plans or apartment plans that you may want to have centered on the view as opposed to the actual model coordinates. But I think most times you'll probably want to align plan views using model coordinates. I'm going to select clone, and Ideate Clone is going to do its magic here. I'm going to select done. And so now we have a brand new sheet, right? So my first one was the coordination, right? And now I have the structure that has a new, structural schedule, the new elevation, and so forth. Another fairly new feature is if I take the view title, I'm going to move the view title down to, let's say, centered underneath the view itself. And I'm going to use the arrow keys to just slightly move the plan over to the right a bit. So now those two plans are not in alignment anymore, right? Because I didn't do that for the structure. But I can now select Align, and I'm going to select the alignment view to be my coordination, and I'm going to align it with the structure view. But a very key item here is in Revit 2022 and Revit 2023, we have a new selection here. It says Match Plan View Title Position. Unfortunately, this is not available in 2020 and 21 just because of it's not available to us via the API, the Application Programming Interface within Revit. But for the last two releases, this is a great feature. I'm going to select Align, all right, and then Done. And you'll see now the structure plan has been moved over and the title has been centered below it. So it matches where I did it here as well. So that align plan view or align titles has been a very requested feature. Well, I've got about 4 minutes. And so I wanted to go to the questions. Glennis, you said that there were a couple of really good questions. I haven't been reviewing them, so please inform me.
Sure, there's a lot of great ones. Thanks, Richard. I guess I'll kind of work backwards. There were a number of people that had very related questions. One of the questions, which was from, who's it from here? Steve. Hi, Steve. The question was, can I have two or more rooms and their views get added to a single sheet? And Richard, if you want to show that rule UI where we can set that, that'd be great.
Yeah. So under the view creator, and I wasn't giving you like the secret sauce, so to speak, meaning that I didn't want it to be, like I said, too confusing here. So let's just go through what I did before, and I'll show you the sequence here. Again, if I'm doing that men's toilet, the actual rule I selected was this one. And then here, if I edit the rule, you'll see that this is where I can select the title block. I can have individual like floor plan, ceiling plan, elevation, 3D view. And what this is a view type that I've created that, like I said, has the appropriate view template assigned to it. And you can also see that the title block is per room or all on one. So I could do that as well. And so is that what you were referring to, Glennis? I think.
I believe that's what I was asking. Yeah. So that just all in one means everything I pick gets put on a single sheet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to, there's a lot of flexibility with these rules, but I didn't want to complicate it too much. But you can see that when I actually open up the rule, I do have a lot of flexibility and a lot of control of how these get created.
Right. So another question going back to annotate and the dismissed elements. We had two related questions on this. Let me see if I can go back here and find them. The first was from Amy, and she said, if an issue is dismissed, will it come back the next time the annotate routine is run, or if the window is refreshed?
So no. So you notice that I had this closed, right? So I opened up the Ideate Annotate again on this project, and you still see that these are the dismissed issues that I'm showing, which was that elevation marker. So the only time, if I come over here, go to the settings, then I could say clear all dismissed issues. If I do that, then that's going to clear any issues that I've dismissed, basically. And then if I refresh that, there are no dismissed issues because I cleared it.
And Jason Hallaby had a similar question. He said, when you dismiss a warning, does that get saved to the Revit model or to the user's computer? In other words, would other users also see the warning as dismissed? And the answer to that is yes. It's saved in the model context, so everybody sort of has the same results. And that data, the issue data here that Richard's showing, this is information that, this is very much like an Explorer warning. We're defining, per a lot of great input, common annotative related problems. This also does, for those of you who have Ideate automation, this gets included in our health check report, these kinds of problems. If they're dismissed, they are excluded from that report. All right, and then, yep, and then there were, let's see, both Jesse and Brian at the exact same minute mark asked the exact same question, which is a great question about linked models and support inside of View Creator. And I'll handle that question.
Sure.
The answer is right now, no. But if you're on our beta program, stay tuned. It's definitely a question we get asked a lot, and we're very much very close to having a good answer for that question. So thanks for asking it. And I know, Brian, I think you're on the MEP side, if I'm not mistaken. Jesse, I can't remember. But we've looked at I'm on the MEP side, and I want to create a room plan or ceiling plan or even elevations based on the linked model that might be an architect's model. So we're trying to support that kind of workflow, and then we're also trying to support another workflow, which is sort of a shell and core kind of relationship between models. So stay tuned on that front. And then Steve had another great question, which was, can I have the view title type change based on how big the view is?
When you like the scale of the view?
I'm imagining, I guess the way I would answer that is, all the rules that are available inside the View Creator can be set to kind of meet a lot of different needs. So one of the rules, in the rule, you can set the view template, right?
Right.
And that would potentially also drive the view type, which would in turn potentially drive the view title behavior. So it is possible you would have to just sort of align with how your setup works. If that makes sense.
Like in these particular cases, this is what I was talking about. Like in each one of these, I went to the view template and made sure the view template was set to shading. I had the view template, the view template scale in this one, so it was a larger scale. So I had control over all that, but again, via the view template settings itself. A great question. Well, I know we're about 3 minutes over, and I wanted to be respectful of everyone's time. I just wanted to mention that if you are currently an Ideate Software customer, please be sure that you have the latest updates from our June calendar year 2022 release, which then, as I said, impacts Revit versions 2020 through 2023. And you can find out so much of like I said, all these videos are available, or I should say little overview videos are available on our Ideate Software website. So I just want to thank everyone for your time and attention today. Like I said, we've made so many great updates with IdeateApps. I couldn't show them all within 30 minutes, but I tried to just highlight a few, specifically the Ideate Annotate tool and some of the sheet and view tools that we've made recent updates to. So any last minute questions, Glynis, you think?
There were a couple of good ones which we can certainly handle. Roberto Garcia was asking about scope boxes, and the question is, when you're using View Creator, do you have to have your scope boxes created first? The answer is you don't, but it's certainly, if you're using scope boxes, View Creator can actually batch create views based on the scope boxes. So View Creator does a lot of things, including match the size of the view, right? The box, and that's true whether you're using scope boxes or not. But if you're using scope boxes, it's nice because you could actually, for example, batch create your views and include the scope box as part of the name if you wanted to. And there's a nice video on our website that actually talks specifically about using scope boxes with View Creator if you want to.
Excellent. Well, like I said, thank you so much for your time and attention. You'll all be receiving, like I said, the recording of this presentation. And I do hope that you have a chance to review the information on our website and that you have a chance to review these new tools and these new features within IdeateApps. So from Richard Taylor and the entire Ideate Software team, I want to thank you very much.